We all know with the nature of the internet that it is the norm to overhype and overrate games. You are simply more likely to gain attention with an extreme opinion by saying something is incredibly good, a genuine masterpiece, no flaws whatsoever, rather than telling the truth and admitting that not everything is so great. And I think most understand that. And that's why people find it so cathartic to hear someone tear down those supposedly great games that they didn't have the same experience with. But I've noticed another phenomenon, that those same people who are so excited to hear games they don't like tore down lose their minds when you attack their favorite game. So I figure at this point it's time to just tear the band-aid off and tear down every overhyped game I can possibly think of. And I don't plan on being a hypocrite here. All of my favorite games as well. Go ahead and try and guess in the comments if you can pick out all of my favorite games from the ones I genuinely don't like. I promise it's going to be hard because I'm a creature of pure hate. And I'm sure you can tell by now this video isn't meant to be that serious. But I do mean everything I'm about to say. And that includes the games that I really like. Because the games that are great aren't great because they have no flaws. They're great because what they do well, they do so well that the flaws just don't matter. So yes, even the game I consider to be the greatest of all time is worthy of a little poking fun at. Just a little bit. So with that probably unnecessary preamble, it's time to get into it. I'm going to be going from most reasonable to least reasonable takes here. So skip to the end if you really want to piss yourself off. So let's start with the game of the week. And if you have a gaming friend group, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the game all your friends insist you just have to buy so you can all play it together. You play maybe 1-2 times and then drop it within the week. At best, you're getting a month. I'm talking friend slop here. Lethal Company, Repo, Peak, that's the current big one. And don't get me wrong, I like these games, but these games are cheap for a reason. They are incredibly light on content, simplistic, because they are only meant to enhance the fun you already have by hanging out with your friends. You can get 90% of the way there just getting drunk with a group of friends and hanging out. These games are only about one step above that. You would never play any of them alone unless you're a real freak. Now, I think most people recognize this, that it's $10 for about a week worth of fun with your friends, which is pretty good given a friend's trip to McDonald's costs more than $10, let alone a bar or an actual event of some kind. But there are still some people who try to pretend that like Lethal Company is the greatest game ever made, invented by a super genius who understands group dynamics better than a psychologist. And I think one step above these Lethal Company likes, that is probably even worse with your friends begging you to buy it, are the co-op PVE games. I'm talking Helldivers, Left 4 Dead, Deep Rock Galactic, and all of the many clones of those games. And I call these one step above because although you really wouldn't want to, you definitely could play these games by yourself and it would be reasonable. They are actually games of some quality where you can have fun without your friends, although they are still specifically designed to enhance the fun you already have with your friends doing anything. But they clearly suffer from the same thing, which is a extreme lack of content. You're doing the same thing over and over again. And the big problem is your friends think it's a forever game. They want you to keep playing for 100 hours, 200 hours, when it was fun for maybe the first 20. And you don't want to call them out because you know they're too scared to play competitive multiplayer and they can't afford to buy the game of the week every single week. But games like Helldivers and Deep Rock, they get updates, so you really can play them forever, which would be great if the updates didn't make the game worse every time. In fact, I distinctly remember all my buddies being like, dude, you gotta buy Helldivers. We gotta play Helldivers. And I'm like, nah, I'll do it later. Until finally I've heard enough of it. They break me down and I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's play Helldivers. And they're like, no, actually it's bad now. Don't buy it, it's bad now. And I think that was only about a month into the game being out. These devs can't help themselves but ruin their own games. And don't you dare bring up Deep Rock. I can't think of a single person that genuinely enjoys Rockpox. Every update seems to make the game as annoying as possible. All I want to do is shoot and dig. It's not that complicated. I don't want to step around and go, oh, you got to spray the rock bugs and then you got to suck it up. You got to scream at your friends because they're too dumb to do it in the right order, all while you're getting eaten alive. No, not a fan. Every update has only made the game more annoying. And if you want to talk about updates ruining a game, liking a competitive multiplayer game is a fool's errand because you like the game now, but you definitely won't in the future. I can't think of a single multiplayer game that has not been ruined or killed. And if it hasn't yet, it will be. There are about 500 videos talking about how Team Fortress 2 is the greatest game ever made. But if you play it now, you would have no idea. It's basically unplayable, even assuming you can get into a game. Because on peak hours, you're talking about a 10-minute queue in a game that shouldn't even have a queuing system. There are over 100 maps, and only about 15 are playable because they're made by community members who have no idea what they're doing. The game looks and runs like a diarrhea from 1,000 stupid hats and stupid effects and stupid taunts being added to the game. Basically, all of the fun guns have been nerfed into the ground for competitive players who don't even play the game that everyone else does. They play their own made-up format. Oh yeah, and if you do actually get to play, you get to play for, I don't know, at most 5 to 10 minutes at a time before you shoved back into another 10-minute queue. But no, it's the greatest game ever made because, like, the font choice is really cool. And, like, the characters were funny 10 years ago. My problem with TF2 isn't that it doesn't get updated anymore. It's that they update it too long. They should have stopped earlier. Every update past, I don't know, 2013 probably made the game progressively worse, to the point where now I don't even think it's a good game. And anyone who's played a multiplayer game long enough has the exact same story. That or ends with the game just dying and doesn't even exist anymore. Yeah, I don't know. A game I can't even play, I would consider overrated. If I can't play it, I don't even know if I'd consider it a video game at all. But at the very least, it's not good. Well, I'm sure some person in the comments will be like, well, my favorite multiplayer game isn't overrated. It's not overrated yet. But what about multiplayer games that don't die, but also don't get updates? I'm talking fighting games. People are still playing Street Fighter 2, and that game hasn't received an update, so it's not dead. Too bad it's ass, because all fighting games are ass. And don't take my word for it, because even I don't take my word for it. All I've done is listen to the people who play fighting games, and I've never heard anyone play a fighting game and not shit on it constantly. They'll tell you straight to your face, this is the greatest game ever made. No game is better than Street Fighter 2, and then complain about it endlessly, that the devs don't even play the game, they have no idea what they're doing, this character's broken, this character's overpowered, it's not my fault I lost, the game's stupid. The FGC community is the whiniest glue eaters on the planet. I've never heard anyone dedicate thousands of hours to doing nothing but practicing combos in an empty room and then proceed to shit on their game endlessly. Melee has been played competitively for decades, and they're still complaining about the exact same things. Fox is OP, he has too many options, Huff is lame, it's basically cheating, you're stalling, he's camping. Does anyone actually like their game? Is it Stockholm Syndrome? I think your game's overrated. I think it's ass because you think it's ass. I'm convinced none of you even like your games. You just play it because you need to be better than someone at something, and the only way to do that is to play a party game for children. Speaking of children, when it comes to Smash Bros and children, well, I'm not going to get into it. But also, speaking of children, it's time to talk about the games that are vastly overrated because people played them as a child and never again. Or if they did play again, it's through rose-tinted glasses where they're not playing the game itself, but are playing a memory of their own childhood. I'm talking every NES game, just all of them. There's not a single one that has not been surpassed within its own genre later. In fact, there are probably only about 3 that are even worth playing today at all. I'm talking Super Mario Bros. 3, The Legend of Zelda, and Mega Man 2. That's probably about it. And as fun as those 3 games are, they're still too simplistic to even compete with modern indie games. Maybe Super Mario Bros. 3, but even then, it doesn't compete with the later Nintendo platformers. I'm sorry, but Yoshi's Island just blows it out of the water. And the NES RPGs, goddamn are those bad. They are just A-mashing simulators with no story at all. So we're all well aware JRPGs tend to have pretty bad combat, but you do it for the story. Now imagine the combat's even worse. You just mash A and grind the whole time, and there's no story. Incredible. Yet still, there are some psychos who consider Final Fantasy II to be the best Final Fantasy game, just because it has a fairly unique leveling system and barely, and I mean barely, has a story where every character dies for some reason. That part's kind of funny. And since we're on Final Fantasy, might as well go through all of those, and I'll just say they're all ass. Not one good one in the whole series. I'd say 1 through 3 are far too simplistic to be fun. Then, when you get to 4, you reach the worst invention, I think, in gaming history, which is the quote-unquote real-time turn-based battle, which all that means is not only is the game turn-based, which is already pretty slow, but you now have to wait for your turn. Who looked at turn-based battling and thought, damn, this is too fast for me. It needs to be even slower. What are you thinking about? Final Fantasy is the most simplistic battle system of any game probably ever. What are you waiting for? This system genuinely makes the games unplayable for me. It goes from extremely slow to mind-numbingly boring. At least in the earlier games, you could mash A to get through the battles faster. Now, you have to wait to then mash A to get through the battles, because they're still extremely easy. You can get through the whole game just spamming whatever does the most damage, but now you have to wait on top of that. I think it's clear that this system was a colossal fuck up, given games like Octopath Traveler that are meant to catch the essence of these classic JRPGs don't include this piece of shit system. And once Final Fantasy finally abandoned the real-time battle system, you know, real-time in quotes, every game past that has had some sort of fundamental flaw in the combat. The most fundamental of all being that I didn't play them. That's a big one. And the stories, I get it. You play for the story, not for the combat. They're okay. They're okay at best. Read a fucking book, dude. You're already reading about as much as a book would be in the game, and books have infinitely better writing. It's not close. But I know for a fact all the people praising these games' story have never read a book, so it doesn't matter. I don't know who I'm arguing to. You could say that about every story game, by the way. I don't think I've ever experienced a video game story that's even about half as good as a simplistic Philip K. Dick book, which are only about 200 pages at most. So if you know how to read, and I know who I'm talking to probably doesn't, you have no reason to be overvaluing these stories. Anyway, mention Final Fantasy, so have to talk about its biggest competitor, Dragon Quest, which your first Dragon Quest game is going to be really fun. You're really going to enjoy it, even despite the really shitty combat, where mashing A and buffing your party defeats every enemy in the entire game. But once you finish that Dragon Quest game, you have now ruined Dragon Quest for yourself forever, because every Dragon Quest game plays exactly the same. And one game is already pretty long and pretty repetitive, so you have to be incredibly autistic to then sit through another full Dragon Quest game, or I don't know, 11 of them that all play exactly the same. So whatever your first Dragon Quest game is, real great, not overrated. Every other one, complete ass, not even worth looking at. And basically all of the great JRPGs have the exact same problems that Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest have, because they come from Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest. They all have overrated story, shitty combat, and are far too similar to other JRPGs. So whatever your first one is, not overrated at all, real great. Every other one, completely overrated, eat shit, dweebo. Okay, skipping the SNES, because basically take everything I said about the NES and apply it to the SNES, except not quite as bad. So moving on to the king of all baby games and the most overrated console of all time, the Nintendo 64. A console with maybe 3 games that are above a 7 out of 10. And of those 3 games, none of them are even close to as good as people say they are. The most egregious of which is Star Fox 64, which is real fun until you realize the game is 30 30 minutes long, really 15, and then an hour of content at most if you 100% it. $2 phone games have more content than that. Then we have Ocarina of Time, which is only praised because it was the first to do things. It has a big open world that's emptier and worse than every modern open world. It has combat with locking on that's also complete ass. All you do is block and hit, block and hit. No stamina, no management of any resources. You can block as long as you want, be completely invincible. It is some of the worst combat in any action game ever. The exploration, not great. Again, world, empty, not interesting, but it was the first, so that means it's the best. Zelda 1 is a better game. Less waiting, less bullshit. I don't even want to talk about Link to the Past. I'm talking Zelda 1. Most of the praise this game gets is completely unquantifiable because it's entirely based on nostalgia. It's, oh, the sense of wonder, the sense of adventure. A sense of adventure you get 1,000 times better in any Zelda game before or after. And then Super Mario 64, which people only pretend controls well because of speedrunners. Sure, it controls great if you learn how to drive a forklift. For you Zoomers who have never played Super Mario 64, the best I can explain the movement in this game is it is like driving a car. Mario cannot turn around. He has to curve. Oh yeah, and you know how everyone hates Luigi for his sliding physics? Yeah, you have the slide all the time. And you better get real good at identifying angles, because the only way to wall jump is if you hit something at the perfect angle. That is assuming you're not running at it straight on. And then once you actually master the movement, and it is pretty fun after that, you end up with the most basic levels of any 3D Mario game. They're generally open and empty with barely any platforming challenges, but that does make them all the more fun to run through as fast as you can, which is real great until you hit one of the thousands of invisible walls. Yeah, the game just has invisible walls everywhere that you can just bonk straight into. And don't forget, you're fighting the completely ass camera this entire time. Super Mario 64 might be one of the few games where ROM hacks aren't just better than it. It's the mediocre ROM hacks are infinitely better than the original game. I'd talk about the PS1, but I just don't care. They had one great game, Spyro, that's real fucking fun for the whole 3 hours that the game lasts. Just don't mention any of the boss fights, which are all a complete waste of time, the best of which are just levels. And I know I'm skipping survival horror. Resident Evil, one of the greatest games ever made, because apparently people still have to pretend that zombies are somehow scary. The genre is called survival horror, but I've never met a single human being on the entire planet who's actually scared of a Resident Evil game. I think there's a reason the best Resident Evil ditched the horror thing almost entirely. It's mostly goofy, might as well be a comedy. Resident Evil 4, the greatest game ever made, as long as you shove Ashley in a dumpster as soon as possible. All right, it's been long enough in the video. I don't care if people click off anymore. It's time to get into the real shit. Bethesda. They've never made a good game. I'm tired of people pretending like they've gone downhill as if they made good games in the first place. Bethesda are really the only ones who make their type of game. Fallout New Vegas is the only time a Bethesda type game has been made by pretty much anyone else. And that's the only reason anyone likes it. Whatever your first Bethesda game is, that's the one you're gonna say is great. Everyone who's like, nah dude, Skyrim's normie shit, Oblivion's where it's at. Well, you Oblivion fucks, Morrowind people are saying the exact same thing about you. And then Daggerfall people are saying the same thing about Morrowind. It's because all of your games are bad. They've never made a good game. No matter which game you're talking about, they have some extreme flaw that holds them back. Morrowind, the worst gameplay you've ever seen. It's fun to break for about 2 seconds if you're autistic, but just like using cheat codes in any other game, it stops being fun in about 20 minutes. And the writing does not make up for it. Go back to my previous argument. No video game writing is as good as a book. It's better than most other games, but the bar is real fucking low. Then Oblivion, this game's just straight ass. Every area is lame and uninteresting. The gameplay, again, extremely shit. It's above Morrowind, but it's nowhere near any actual action game or RPG. People say the quests are good, but I think the bar is just really fucking low for these, because the quests and the writing is much worse than any top-down RPG like Baldur's Gate, any of them, then Skyrim is just peak normie shit, the worst writing in the series. The gameplay is a little bit better, but still far below any real video game. The dungeons are literally copy and pasted. You only get a world that big by using procedural generation, which if you've seen that in any other game, you know it's ass. Fallout 3, real cool, great landmarks, an interesting location, a fairly dense world, in one of the worst main stories in any Bethesda game, surpassed only by Fallout 4. But I'm not done talking about Fallout 3, because the gameplay still ass, because Bethesda just can't do it. They can't reach the bar of other games. Fallout 3, every gun is basically casting spells. And moving back to the story for just a second, without Broken Steel, it has one of the worst endings of all time. You have to irradiate yourself to death in order to save the day. The problem is you have a partner who is immune to radiation and he just refuses to help. He's like, nah, dog, this is your destiny. You have to die here for no reason. God damn, is the writing bad. Then Fallout 4, the biggest disappointment of any Bethesda game before Starfield, which I'm not even going to talk about because it's so shit that it can't be overrated. No one overrates it. Everyone knows it's bad. But Fallout 4, horrible dialogue system. Every option is exactly the fucking same. It's basically just agree, disagree, or be sarcastic. The voice acting is ass. Definitely not worth it. The gameplay, better. It has actual shooting. All they had to do was sacrifice all of the RPG elements in an RPG. There's this shitty loot system that you're constantly grabbing crap for no reason, wasting all of your time. The main story, even worse than Fallout 3. It makes no fucking sense at all. Oh yeah, and I didn't even mention that every single Bethesda game is a buggy mess, with half of them being unplayable. And I don't even want to talk about Vegas, even buggier than the main series Bethesda games somehow, and extremely Reddit. I don't want to fucking hear it. It's a Reddit game. Next time someone brings up Vegas, ask them what ending they got, because they didn't pick the only ending that's correct. They're an estrogen-filled coward. The only good ending is the one where you lead Vegas because you are a god. You accomplish everything in this world. No one has accomplished even 1% of what the main character ends up doing. Everyone's a pussy. You're the greatest. So if you don't choose to own Vegas yourself, you're a fucking coward. But Bethesda's small potatoes. The real golden goose is FromSoftware. They're the ones who can only make good games. Too bad all of their games are bad. Dark Souls, real great game. Real interesting. Invented an entire genre, if you don't count Demon Souls, which I don't. Fuck you, Demon Souls. If you think that's the best Souls game, you're just a contrarian. Anyway, back to Dark Souls. Real great. Greatest game ever made. Maybe, if it was finished. Too bad it wasn't. Too bad, I don't know, what, 25% being generous of the game is blatantly trash? Really, it's the entire back half of the game, which is a major drop-off in quality. You cannot fight the bed of chaos even one time and still think this is a good game. I don't fucking believe you. Dark Souls 2, this one actually might just be ass. This might be the only Souls game that's just straight up bad. Why the fuck is adaptability a stat? In what universe did you think it was okay to make your invincibility frames attached to a stat? Every time you replay the game, it feels worse, and you're like, why is it? This feels so much worse than I remember. It feels so much shittier than the last time I played. It's because you have to put 20 points minimum into adaptability for the game to not feel like ass. Not to mention, every boss is basically the same fucking thing. It's just some guy. It's fucking lame. Not to mention, Scholar of the First Sin is the only way you can play the game now on Steam, and it just throws 8 million enemies everywhere for no fucking reason. It doesn't even make the game any harder. It's just less interesting because you have to sit there and fucking grind through 800 enemies to get anywhere. The DLC is pretty cool, though. I like the DLC. Too bad you have to play the rest of the game to get there. Then Dark Souls 3, that's just straight a normie game. They took Dark Souls, which was interesting and unique, where the main mechanic was stamina management. Whether you're blocking or dodge rolling or attacking, you have to pay attention to your stamina bar, because if it ran out, you were fucked and you would take damage. Then we move over to Dark Souls 3, and it plays like every other action game ever made. Press circle at the right time instead of the wrong time. Just dodge. There is no risk at all. You have basically infinite fucking stamina, and you can dodge out of any attack. It's just a shitty action game. Before, you would be genuinely punished. If you mash circle 3 times, you would roll 3 times in a row, no matter what you did, and you'd be out of stamina, fucked, take damage. Same thing with attacking. It was Dark Souls 3 that they changed their mind. They're like, normies cannot handle that. They're too dumb. So you just mash the attack button and then you hit circle at the right time instead of the wrong time. And that's Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, and Elden Ring. They're brain dead action games for people too fucking stupid to play Devil May Cry or Bayonetta. They can't handle it. They're too dumb. Combos, that's too hard. No, mash the attack button and press circle at the right time instead of the wrong time. That's it. That's as complex as these piece of shit modern Souls games are. Elden Ring's the same way. Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, all garbage. And the worst part is, they're easy too. Why do you think everyone has to say, oh, well, if you blocked, you didn't beat the game? Or if you summoned, you didn't beat the game? If you used spirit summons, you didn't beat the game? If you used buffing, you didn't beat the game. Why do you think they have to put all of those on top of it? Because the game, as it normally is easy. It's not hard. You have to do a bunch of random bullshit, purposely limit yourself, purposely be stupid in order to make the game difficult. That's every game, you fucking moron. Yeah, beating Super Mario 64 without jumping is probably pretty fucking hard. If you put arbitrary restrictions, any game is hard. And Sekiro's just lame. It's lame. Hate to break to you, it's lame. Sekiro really is just hit the right button at the right time. All you do is parry. If you parry at the right time, you win. You have to dodge like once every 6 years. You don't even have to attack if you really don't want to. Just break your stamina bar parrying and then you get to attack. That's why I call it a rhythm game with no music, because you just hit one button on the beat and you win. Too bad you can't hear the beat. Who the fuck wants to play a rhythm game with no music in it? That just sounds lame. What's left? Every Rockstar game, they're all terrible. I don't even want to explain it. Nakey Jakey made a great video on this, but it's basically the games are sandbox games. They're supposed to be big and open, except there's no decision making at all. It's built for normie dumb fucks who have no idea what they're doing. So yeah, if you really like following yellow paint and doing what the objective tells you to do, it's probably pretty fun with some of the worst shooting you've ever seen, some of the worst driving you've ever seen, but it's in a big open world, so that means it's cool. And I can basically say the same thing for every sandbox game. They're all bad. It's all doing menial, pointless tasks that are elevated by morons because it's in a big open world. I'm talking Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Cyberpunk, Horizon Zero Dawn, open sandbox games that have dog shit gameplay, dog shit writing that people artificially elevate because, oh my god, it's so pretty and look, it's big, I can go wherever I want. Except there's no reason to go wherever you want. You only go where the objective marker takes you to. Can we talk about how Assassin's Creed fucking invented the worst thing in gaming ever, which are cutscenes where you just walk behind someone, but for some reason they walk faster than you? Either that or you walk faster than them. Point is, you're never matching the speed, so you're kind of, oh, I gotta speed up, gotta slow down. And I guess what's worse than that, maybe not worse, but just as bad, is just cutscenes in general. That every game now has 8 million cutscenes invented by the worst gaming company of all time, Naughty Dog. I don't want to fucking hear it. Uncharted 1 was bad. Uncharted 2 was bad. Uncharted 3 was bad. Last of Us, bad. Last of Us 2, the worst thing anyone has ever made because they're trying to be movies, a worse medium. Movies are shit. They are for brain dead, drooling fucks. Look at me. Listen. Look here. Look, listen. Gaming and books is a medium of art that you have to engage with. If you do not read, if you do not engage your brain, nothing will happen. If you play a game, you have to move the controller, move your character, or nothing will happen. Movies, you just hang your mouth agape, drool on the fucking ground and stare, and your brain can be off. You can be completely brain dead and the movie will continue playing. It is a lower form of art. Something you don't have to engage in is objectively worse than something that requires your input. It is for stupid people. I don't know where it came from that movies is supposed to be this high art for the posh, when it's actually for dumb fucks. People too stupid to read, to engage with the medium in some way. So when you take a higher form of art, something that requires your engagement, and then you try and emulate a lower form of art, it is inherently dog shit. I don't want to fucking hear it. They're all bad. There's not one good Naughty Dog game after Jak and Daxter. And just because I haven't been schizo enough, going back to the whole high art, low art thing, the original art, before even cave paintings, were oral stories, meaning telling stories with your mouth. And although that doesn't sound like something you would engage in, the original oral stories you were meant to participate in, meaning the people listening would add to the story themselves. Meaning, the only art that has ever mattered since the beginning of fucking time is something you can participate in. If you are sitting there drooling at your chair, listening to this video, probably not even on the main monitor, that's not fucking art. That's content for people too stupid to engage. Which is why, if you want to prove that you're a real human, you will write a comment and like the video and subscribe, because then you are engaging in some way. So in the comments, go ahead and try and guess which of these games I actually like and which ones I genuinely hate. It's probably harder than you think. Anyway, bye.